Welcome, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
to the ArtSpace podcast.
Brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace.
Located at 4601 Sheridan Road.
Stop on by and say hi to your friendly smiling faces at your neighborhood citrus-themed art gallery.
Yep, come say hi to me, because I'll probably be here.
Come look at our art and maybe buy a piece.
Yes, support local artists.
Either way, we'd love to see you.
Yes. I'm Shelby Nesmith.
I'm Jake Hoy.
And we will be your lovely hosts.
We introduced ourselves.
We did it.
That might be a first.
Yay.
Yeah, I think it is. We're glad to be with you.
But we don't matter right now.
I am unimportant.
Right now, the important person we are going to be talking to today is Martin Antaramian.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome aboard, Martin. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
He is a wizard. A woodworking wizard.
Wow. WWW.
Yes, he's a woodworking wizard, in my opinion. He carves. He makes wood things look like fabric, and it blows my mind.
Things that normally are not wood.
Yeah, and it's very breathtaking, I will say, the amount of detail you get into.
I was blown away when I saw your stuff. I hadn't seen it before, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And we even showed it to our past guest at the end of the last episode, and she was like, oh my gosh, that's great.
Thank you.
But I got to know Martin and at UW Parkside. We kind of bumped into each other as I was getting my degree in studio art. He was using the space to work on his projects, and we got to know each other. So I was like, we got to get him on this podcast. He does awesome stuff. So let's get into your art.
Okay, let's get started here.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Martin, what would you say got you into art?
I always enjoyed art growing up, but I was never particularly good at it. Mm-hmm. And so I never really considered it as a real path for me to go down. It was always just something, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. It wasn't until I got to college that I took an intro to 3D design course. I still wasn't particularly good at it, but just the working with my hands to create something 3D instead of something 2D, just something clicked. I was like, oh my God, this is what I meant to do. This is what I need to keep doing.
And you just knew. And yeah, I had a similar, in an earlier episode of our podcast, I saw Shelby give me a look. Mm-hmm. I talked about how the first time I wove something in an art class in junior high school, we did weaving, and it just blew my mind because I made a 1D into a 2D. Yeah. And listeners of the podcast will remember me being an idiot and talking about that. But so yeah, it's so funny that you say that because I had a similar thing, but then I didn't become an artist. So,
and I also had a similar thing where I was like, oh yeah, intro to 3D design. I don't know if that class is just sprinkled with magic or something.
I think it must be.
Because that's where I discovered my love for art again, and I left the sciences and went back into art. So I don't know if there's something magical going on, and that's where I met Alex. Like, there has to be something magical in that room for sure. So do you feel like, because you mentioned something about 2D clicked for you, do you think that there was a certain pressure that to be an artist you kind of had to be good in two-dimensional spaces?
Not really. Well, depending which professor you talk to, but I never considered that. No, the issue was more that all through elementary, middle school, high school, all the art classes that were offered were all two-dimensional. Mm-hmm. I had never had an experience with trying 3D art before, and so I just never considered it.
So maybe that's something for future generations we can work on.
It is strange, yeah. Why don't it would seem like you'd have something like that in high school.
I think I did make one pottery piece in middle school, mm-hmm. but I don't particularly like working with clay either. Mm-hmm. It's too messy.
I can see that. Yeah.
You are a very clean artist, I will say.
Yeah.
An orderly artist.
Sawdust is easier to clean up than splatter, right?
Yeah.
Much. I mean, maybe not much. It does get everywhere.
Yeah.
Travels home with you in your pockets, I
Yeah.
imagine. But seeing your workspace and how you've laid out your areas, I don't think clay was your route. What is your earliest art memory?
Earliest art memory is of painting in the church that I went to growing up. I don't know why. It just is.
Stuck in your head, or was it like...
I think the execution of it was just very well done.
Nice.
What was the painting of?
Some saint.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Probably the saint that the church was named after.
Yes, yes.
I think part of that too, actually, now that I'm really thinking about it, the church I went to, the sermon was all in Armenian, and I never learned Armenian.
Oh.
So I really wasn't getting anything out of it. So I'm just kind of looking around and I was like, oh, that's a nice painting. And so I was probably just staring at it for an hour at a time every Sunday.
Right. I mean, that's where stained glass windows came from, right? Because, people wouldn't know what was going on in the church, so they needed a visual. So, right. You're not alone, but yeah, it's funny where we get our inspirations from, because I had a similar thing. The church that I went to had stained glass windows, and I would just stare at them, and it was amazing. And then I get to interview people like Melanie Hovey a couple of weeks ago, who's an amazing stained glass artist, and have my mind be blown.
Yes.
So do you have like somebody early on that was like a big influence on you artistic wise? Somebody even if it wasn't somebody you knew, maybe just like a famous artist that you really drew a lot of inspiration from?
Not really. I would say that later on, after graduating Parkside, I started having some influence from Wendell Castle. The process of stack lamination to create this larger form that could then be carved into. Mm-hmm. Kind of just the modern furniture movement in general.
Okay.
I would say was the bigger inspiration.
Now, I love this because we're getting into my favorite part of the podcast, which is called Jake is an Idiot, and where I don't know things and I don't have any shame, so I'm going to ask, what's stack lamination? I can imagine, I can guess, but I want to hear what it really is.
So stack lamination is where you were taking, most people think laminate like countertops. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Stack lamination is the process of taking real wood. Mm-hmm. In my case, I use 2-inch thick and glue boards up together. So I would take maybe 8 layers of 2-inch thick wood and glue them all up.
Oh, wow.
Before carving into it.
Okay. Very cool. So like these pieces here were made using that?
Yes.
And you can't even see like the lines, or that, at least I can't. Wow. That's great.
A lot of blending and sanding and...
That's something that I actually take a lot of time on, is laying out my boards in a very particular order to hide the seam lines the best I can.
Well, great job. Mission accomplished.
What kind of pushed you in the subject matter of making things that flow and kind of had movement to it?
It was a dream, actually. I woke up at 3 a.m. one morning with a vision of a spinning dress carved out of wood. And I was just like, oh, okay, I need to make that. I had never done any wood carving before that. Mm-hmm. And so I just decided, okay, I'm going to jump into this monstrous project.
So you just went head first. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you do that? What do you go out to the store and be like, oh, I need some wood?
No. The first step was to make a model.
Okay.
Because while I could picture it in my head, again, not a great 2D artist. And so I couldn't draw it. So what I started off with was a 8x8 block of green floral foam.
Yeah.
And I carved that into a likeness, a small model of what eventually would become the first cherry waltz table.
Okay. Seems like that would be easier to carve than wood, probably.
And a lot cheaper.
Yeah. I can imagine wood is probably very expensive.
Going in not knowing what you're doing, spending thousands of dollars on wood.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably the green foam is a good place to start.
Good launch point there.
Yes, definitely.
And what kind of tools do you use for when you did graduate to wood? Like, what kind of tools?
I use mostly pneumatic, so running on compressed air. I do the beginning shaping with a mini chainsaw blade on an angle grinder.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. And then I do the detail work with die grinders, which are essentially Dremels on steroids.
Okay. I can picture that.
Big bits. Big bits.
Big bits.
And then the final work is all just hand sanding.
Okay. A lot of sanding, I can imagine.
Lots and lots of sanding. Yeah.
Different grits and all that stuff.
Because when I left college and graduated, you were still working on the ballerina, last I remember. I think you got like one layer of the tutu part done, I think. Last I saw it in person, so.
Yeah, that piece took quite a bit longer than I anticipated, which tends to be a thing.
It shows. Did you always envision that as a table? Like, is it supposed to be a table?
It is a table.
Okay. And
it just has a very small surface area that's usable.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, and we are back from our little break with Martin. And so we got to talking, and he does some other stuff besides just working with wood. He's working on a sculpture for the what is the event? Oh my god, I can't find it on this piece of paper. Why?
To commemorate
Yes.
Buddy Holly's, not his last performance, but his stop here in Kenosha shortly before he passed away.
Yes.
Yeah. How did you get involved with that?
Guida Brown reached out to me. She's a big Buddy Holly fan, has been to a bunch of the commemorative sculptures that are around the U.S. and thought that it was a travesty that we didn't have one here.
Most people probably don't even know that they stopped here at the...
I had no idea.
I didn't either. At the Marina Shores? Is that the name of the building?
I believe it was called the Eagles Club at the time.
Eagles Club, yeah. But
Yeah.
Now it's called Madrigrano Marina Shores, I believe. So down on 3rd Avenue and 58th.
Sure.
Yeah, sounds right. I know my streets.
Sure, we'll go with that.
So Guida reached out.
Yeah, she was familiar with my work, knew that I had done some metal work in the past, and wanted to know if I would be interested in making a commemorative sculpture, and I absolutely was, so.
So what's the process been like for that?
It's been a very different piece than I've done before. Actually, I wouldn't have been able to do it had I not recently taken some digital fabrication classes at Parkside. Because all of the pieces were designed in a program Fusion.
Okay.
And then sent to a CNC plasma cutter to cut out all the shapes.
Okay. Heavy duty.
Yeah. Because it's got a lot of fine detail shapes in there that just wouldn't be reasonable to try to do by hand with a plasma cutter.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever used one. It's not a finesse tool.
It's like kind of like the shotgun kind of tool of like have fun controlling it.
It's like cutting paper with a shotgun.
Yeah. It's so hard to control.
That's a visual there. Okay.
Yes.
Is it a computer that's it's not computer controlled?
Not the hand one.
Okay.
The CNC one is.
Okay.
That gives you really nice precision.
Yeah.
But yeah, the handheld, it's all over the place. Good luck getting a straight line. But I mean, granted, you have like grinding and everything you can do afterwards, but
Yeah, there's always the finish work, but
Yeah.
this takes a lot of that out.
yes.
Which is very nice.
We'll have pictures of this up on our social media, so everybody check that out on Facebook. But yeah, this is how many different pieces are there? Like
1, 2, 3. About 10 different pieces.
wow, that's way more than I thought.
Same.
Very cool. But yeah, it's got the glasses, the iconic Buddy Holly frame glasses. Up at the top, the what do you call that? The head of the guitar. I'm not a musician either.
Sure.
The top of the guitar, where like the pegs would be, is kind of shaped like an old time telephone, which I believe is a reference to the Big Bopper's song "Chantilly Lace."
Yes, it is.
Old time music lovers will understand that.
I definitely had to do some research on the artists before designing this piece because I really didn't know anything about them. But I tried to incorporate little call outs to.
Is there another one for Richie Valens or anything like that?
No,
missing any?
there's not.
And then the snowflake would be a reference to the winter dance. Is that what it was called?
The Winter Dance Party,
Yeah.
which was the tour that they were on.
It was like the theme of the tour.
Yeah.
Okay. And then a couple weeks afterwards I should know the name of the town in Iowa where they had their last show. Clear Lake, I want to say. Oh, somebody check that. But they had their last show and then they took an airplane flight to their next gig was supposed to be like Fargo or something like that and went down in the flight and passed away sadly. And they call that the day the music died.
Yep.
So, but this is a good tribute, and it's going to go up in Kenosha in the near future.
Yes, it'll be installed downtown in front of the marina sometime this summer.
Awesome. So everybody look for that.
Keep their eyes peeled for.
We love public art, so
Yes.
it'll be great to add to our growing collection of public art in this city. So I'm excited for that.
So, when you are not being commissioned to do stuff, what motivates you to make?
The challenge. I keep trying to push what I've been doing and make something more and more complicated. I love the expression on people's faces when they see something that I've made and they're just, how?
That was my reaction when I saw the ballerina table.
How is that wood? I don't understand.
And you have another piece here that's like a dress, and I'm sitting here going like, are you supposed to wear that? Like, because there's like a mannequin in there.
There's not.
No? Is that part of it?
That's part of it. That's
Oh.
wood too.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. Very cool. You get to see my reaction to it live in person. People at home will have to guess.
And I remember you talking about it, and you're just like, I want people to think they can wear it. Like,
Yeah.
that was the goal of.
That
making.
was that was why I painted the top
Yeah.
portion black, so that it really would look like it's just this thin dress draped over a dress form.
Yeah, you want to try it on. But that would be very heavy, wouldn't it?
Oh,
Yes, it certainly would.
Because that one is made out of maple?
Cherry.
Cherry. Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, that was what I was going to ask. What kind of woods do you use? All kinds? Or do you have a favorite?
I do have a cherry is my favorite.
Okay.
But I do use all kinds.
He likes exotics.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is there a kind you won't use? Like pine, forget about
Oh
it.
yeah. No, pine is garbage.
Okay.
Except for that one piece that I found. There was like this, I had a project. It was a lamination project, and somehow the pine was like purple, or it was like weirdly going on, and you're like, if you don't use that, I might do something with that. And sitting in my attic still. So
Purple pine.
yeah, it was like I don't know if there was like how it
Some
happened.
weird fungus or something.
I don't know. It was like purple, and then like spots were like it wasn't green, but it was just like almost like blue. It was very, very weird. And you're just like, I don't know how you got it to look like that or where you picked it up from, but that piece is really cool. So I've got that mental memory of the one piece of pine that you said you might work with.
It's probably from Chernobyl or something.
I don't know. It was weird.
No, the real problem with pine is just that it's too soft.
Okay.
It's not a furniture grade wood.
So like it would break easier?
It would dent very easily.
Oh, okay.
You could put your thumbnail in it.
Okay.
Even sometimes.
See, I didn't know that. I picked pine just out of nowhere. I was gonna say balsa, but then I thought like, oh man, that nobody would work with that. That's what you make like those crappy airplanes out of and stuff.
Well, balsa wood does have its purpose though. It's great for making your model
Okay.
of a larger piece.
Okay.
Gotta work up to the big boy.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think of other kinds of wood. Like teak. That's like kind of an exotic wood, right?
Yeah, teak is a good furniture wood.
You really like Purple Heart.
I do love Purple Heart.
I haven't heard of that.
That is.
It is literally purple wood.
Not like this pine. Not the Chernobyl pine.
No. Not my anomaly.
Not an accident. It's just always purple.
Like the inside?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Where does that grow?
I always forget if it's Africa or South America.
Okay. But somewhere warm.
Yeah, not here.
People that know me know that I'm kind of a tree nut. Not literally a tree nut, but I love trees.
Acorn Jake, is that you?
Acorn Jake is what they call me in certain circles. No, but I like trees. I'm crazy about trees, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm kind of like a tree. Big and quiet.
And it is in the Amazon basin.
No, South America then. Okay.
Southeastern Brazil to Costa Rica.
Oh, so up into Central America too. I'm also a geography nerd, so people
A nerd of many.
Yes, very much so. But enough about me. You mentioned earlier one of the inspirations that you had when you started getting into wood. Would you say that's one of your favorite artists too? Like if you're talking just like in general, favorite artists?
Ooh, in general, favorite artist. It's probably a little cliche, but Leonardo Da Vinci.
Hey, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Have
The
you
Renaissance man.
Right.
Have you seen the material here?
Right. I just remember when I was in New York, I was at the Met and long gallery, and at the very end, there was a painting that I was not familiar with, but I could tell it was an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
And when I finally got over there, it was like, oh, of course, it's a Da Vinci.
I mean, I think most people only know like the Mona Lisa or Vitruvian Man, maybe, but I mean, he's got a lot of work.
Yeah.
So,
And even like his sketches of like human cadavers. Oh my
Oh,
goodness. Those are amazing.
the screw helicopter.
Oh my, yes. So many crazy inventions. And I think that's why you kind of like him as well, because he plays in the realm of 3D too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I got to go to the Leonardo Da Vinci Museum when we were in Italy for a UW Parkside study abroad thing. And yeah, seeing those sketches, oh, it is just breathtaking.
they are. His drawing of a woman, it's just her head slightly tilted to the side. It's one of the few pieces that I've considered getting as a tattoo.
Mm-hmm. People underestimate like anatomical, like just sketches and drawing as like a medium. It's so amazing what you can learn just from doing like different angles, working on your face, and everything like that. So
We talked a bit about that last week with Jill. She's talking about how faces and hands are just so hard to master. And I couldn't even imagine.
she committed a lot of time to learning them and practicing them, so she doesn't have little stump hands or stuff like that. Giving people hooks and eye patches.
Yeah. You do see that from a lot of artists.
Yes.
They're just like, we're just going to kind of flub this.
Yes. Like we said in the episode, pirates need representation too.
We do hooks to get around having to draw hands. So part 2 of that question, we like to shout out some of our favorite local artists in the community as well. Do you have any local artists in, not necessarily just Kenosha, but, Racine or Milwaukee or Chicago, this general area that you admire or you're friends with or you like their work?
I would say I've got a couple of them. Allison Krasinski. She's a painter. Samantha Margaret, also a painter. And Crystal Crass. She does drawing, painting, and was tattooing for a while.
Okay.
Nice.
We talked about tattoo art on the last week's episode too.
we find that a lot of people sometimes when they develop their style in 2D, they kind of get asked to or find their way into tattooing. So it's sometimes people's avenue to it. So it's interesting how people get into tattooing.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So you've got a lot. I know you have a lot of projects and you've had a lot of commissions, but if time and money were no object, what would your dream project be?
Well, actually, this is going to be a project that I'm going to be starting.
Great. That's what we love to hear.
Ish.
Okay.
Ish.
Starting, maybe not finishing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, if time and money were no object, I'd be doing it life size. As is, it's probably going to be tabletop figures, so like 12 inches tall.
Okay.
So I've been getting more into the digital fabrication side of things. And 3D scanners have come way down in price.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking at picking up a scanner that I'd be able to scan some models, do some alterations in the software, 3D print them, take the 3D prints into a plaster sand mold, burn it out in the kiln, and make them as cast bronze pieces.
Oh my.
Whoa.
And the current idea is that I'm going to be doing this with 4 models to be the 4 dancers of the apocalypse.
Okay. I was going to ask what the models are and why couldn't you just pour some stuff on them, but these are people.
Yes.
Okay. Don't want to have molten bronze poured onto them. That's quite a project.
That I could see why you'd want to do that life size. That's very you if you admit it. Life
So then are you able, when you scan, you 3D scan, are you able to like shrink that down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can scale it to any size.
That's very cool.
And that reminds me of a project. I'm blanking on the artist's name. His first name's John. He scanned a model and then made her body out of cardboard, but like it was like laminated, so you could see gaps in the lamination. So he played with negative space when he scanned her, and turned out really cool. It was I think it was in the Uptown business window in Racine. I'm mad I can't remember his last name, but shout out to him and the cool process that he did with that. So
I always love to hear new inventive things
Yeah.
that you wouldn't think of.
yeah, I didn't know it was a thing, and then being an assistant to draw Joseph, he approached Joseph and was like, I need a female model. And we asked Whitney to do it. She's a very experienced model. And he just took scans of her body and then just, I don't know if it was like a CNC machine. He just roughly cut out cardboard and.
Yeah, I imagine it would be a CNC laser that he used to
make the sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool. Again, I wish I remembered his last name, but his first name's John, and he's cool. So if you need models, you know where to go.
Yeah.
Yes. So when showcasing your work, sometimes you get some funny questions or comments about your work. And what was kind of a comment that stuck in your brain about your work?
So this is one that I've actually heard multiple times, and I always think it's hilarious. People are always a little nervous about saying this because they're like, oh, I don't want to offend him. But people have said that my waltz tables remind them of the dancing napkins from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, I wouldn't consider that an insult. People are just,
Do you consider that an insult?
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
people
Because I can totally see it.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
That wasn't what I was going for or anything I was thinking of while making the pieces. But once someone said it, I was like, oh, yeah.
people pull in references from back of the brain kind of information. But that's how art kind of works. You pull observations and references from one thing and try and make connections. So
Yeah.
I'm glad people are making connections with your work and applying it to their perspective and trying to relate it to things. Because some people can just take it at face value of, oh, cool, he made this dress.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's nice to know that your work is going further than just like an object that's there. So
It's one of the things that I've been interested in while we've been doing this project, this podcast, is the way artists interact with the people viewing their art and how some like to hear from the people's perspective. Some of them just want them to see the thing they did. And there's no right answer to that, right? I mean, it's just what you prefer. So, yeah. Would you say you like to hear what people interpret your art, generally speaking?
Yeah. And a lot of times if I'm at an art show, I'll purposely pretend to be studying something near my piece and have my back to my piece just so I can listen to people talk about it.
That's great. I think I'd be like that too.
sneaky.
Because I don't think I'd like to stand next to it and be like, "This is my art," you know. And
Well, if they, depending what they're saying, then I turn around and introduce myself.
it gives you that out in case it's.
Yes. I'm considering buying.
Hello.
I just remembered one of my other favorite comments that I've heard about the Victorian dresser. I was at a show and there were these two kids from across the gallery who like came running up and they were so excited to look at the dress made of chocolate.
Oh, now I can't unsee it.
Yeah. I can see where they're coming from.
It looks delicious.
They were pretty disappointed when they found out it was wood.
Oh, it's made out of wood. Not
Oh
like
man, if you did chocolate sculpting, you'd have to be like, how hot is it gonna be there?
Yeah.
planning.
How hungry are people gonna be? You want to move on to our final, well, not really final question, but the last one that we have written down.
Sure, we can ask it.
So we like to ask people what their thoughts are on the local art community here, like what things that we could do to improve it, and strengths, weaknesses, and it's not just Kenosha. It can be Racine, it can be the whole area, or it could just be Kenosha. I don't know, up to you. So what do you think?
I think I'm too out of touch.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably not involved enough to really have much of an opinion. I tend to have the same problem that I think a lot of artists have, in that I'm in my studio with my head in the hole.
Yeah.
And I'm just making, and not paying enough attention to the other side of things.
And we've heard that from other people that we've talked to too, that because it's, the process, you that's how you do it. And there's no right answer, so
It's hard to socialize while you're doing woodworking and grinding and making
there's nothing quiet about what I do. It's like, people say all the time, it's like, oh yeah, we got to have an art night, and it's like, okay, yeah, you can come over and draw, but I can't work on any of my stuff.
Yeah. So we talked about there's just some people that work better alone, just kind of locked away in the studio, but taking the time to take breaks and come to events like every once in a while, touch base, but remembering to do that, of like, oh, there's other people out there that I gotta talk to,
and people want to hear from you too, because people look at this and go, well, I want to talk to that guy. Probably, I know I did, so I am.
and that's one reason that I'm really glad that I continued to audit classes at Parkside for a long time, just to have that community of artists, to always have someone to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
Because I'll come up with a crazy idea all on my own, but once it's bounced back and forth a couple of times, I can make it really insane.
Yeah.
I've seen it in person happen. So
yeah, we're really lucky to have the kind of, the higher education establishments here at our disposal. I mean, Parkside we've talked about, and I mean, Carthage is a great performing arts program too, and we're lucky to have that here in our little community. So
your perspective of the art community is slightly different, I would say. You're more still in the academic area because your studio's been in an academic setting.
Yeah.
So that's good to know, because you're still talking with young artists, people that are just starting to get involved with the art community and just starting out producing. So you do get a unique perspective, I would say, through working through UW Parkside. So that is really awesome.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways there's a disconnect between some of the older artists in our community and the younger. And I'm not saying that to be like saying somebody is at fault here or anything. But yeah, I think that we could always build bridges and come together more, and just, I think, conversation,
Oh yeah.
Like a podcast.
What?
Not to toot our own horn here, but
What?
but yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see more. As an old person myself,
You're not old.
I got made fun of on a recent local episode of the K-Town Connects podcast by one Jason Hedman, past guest here, for calling myself old.
You're not old.
I'm 31.
You're not old.
I know. Okay, you're right, Jason.
I mentioned.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I look at myself. I've been around younger artists. I mean, look like Shelby here, and
I'm only 26.
Anyways,
I'm not that far off. You act like I'm a little fetus compared to you.
No, I kid. But yeah. So, anyways, that's my little soapbox rant here.
Oh well. Yeah, it is important, I think, to get more with the age gap, maybe get more collaboration between a younger artist and a older artist, because perspectives are going to be so different in all of that, and so that might be something cool
I
to
think
work
it can
on.
only help both.
Yeah.
So.
Because you've got the person that's been working at it for years and years, and they sometimes people put themselves in boxes when they're been producing so long. So getting a fresh perspective from a younger artist can help break those boxes and really create something cool. I think it's got potential to be something awesome.
I agree.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, too often artists get stuck just making the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a subject of a couple other
Yeah.
of episodes as well. Of
And it's true. And and I think talking to other artists can help you get out of that rut. And it's like writer's block, I would imagine, right? You know?
art block. Yeah,
Art block.
It's awful.
We don't want that.
And it's like a large portion of my work has the theme of wood made to look like fabric. But with every piece, I'm really trying to push it further than I did in the last one, so that it's not just, it's another...
Yeah. And you got your metalwork and your bronze casting. And so I love it.
Which that sounds very exciting. I can't wait to see how that goes.
I'm really excited for those too.
Yeah, and like I said, models, you can come to me for those if you need them.
Do you got any things coming up in the near future? Any shows or stuff like that?
Actually, the ballerina table I just dropped off this past weekend at a gallery in Wausau.
Oh, okay.
Pope Wood Paper Print is the name of the show.
Okay, cool.
So I'm really curious to see what other artists submitted for that, because that's a very unique category for a show.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
interesting. I guess northern Wisconsin's known for like paper making and the paper industry, so that makes sense that would come from that. But
And we've
very
got
cool.
trees, so wood. And then a question about working at the Kenosha Public Museum. How has your artistic skills translated in working there? I know you've done some projects there.
Very well, actually. So I'm a exhibit builder preparator. So I hang temporary exhibits, but I also build pieces for the permanent exhibits. So about 3 years ago, they redid half of the upstairs of the Kenosha Public Museum, and made the From Curiosity to Science exhibit.
oh yeah,
And the entryway of that is a hallway with 4 cabinets of curiosity, starting 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and then modern day. And all of the cabinetry shelving that are in those were made by me.
oh wow, sounds like quite a task.
It was quite a few pieces, yes. Some of them are very simple, but there is one piece that I'm particularly proud of in the 1700s. It is a replica of a French curio cabinet. It is extremely ornate with like carved snakes around it, and it's...
Again, you and your details.
Oh man, everybody needs to run down to the museum to go see that.
Yes, Martin
That's
made
still
that.
still installed up there, right?
Yes, that is now part of a permanent exhibit.
Awesome. Yeah, go check that out. Kenosha Public Museum.
Yes, yes, yes.
I don't know the address.
I don't know either, but plug to them. And speaking of plugs, is there anywhere that people can find you on social media, anything like that? Follow your art journey?
I am on Facebook. I have a work page called Sculpture and Functional Art. And I haven't really been posting anywhere else. That's really been where I've been.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll share a link to that in the episode description.
For sure. And then anything else you would like to say before we head on out?
Just thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Our pleasure, truly. It was great talking to you.
You too.
Getting to know a little bit about Martin. And you can get to know us on Facebook at the ArtSpace Podcast, on Instagram at the ArtSpace Pod, And you can find us on any streaming platform, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and our own YouTube channel, which is the ArtSpace Podcast.
And we want to shout out the musical artists that gave us our amazing theme song, which you're about to hear pretty soon here. Would You Kindly, a great local band here in Kenosha. Check them out around town.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.